Yeah, that's not going to work. It's not great. All right, guys. Welcome to Haunters Hangout. This is Season 7, Episode 7. We're going to talk about masks today, but first off, we want to start off with our special guest host, Alan Hops. Woo!
Hi, everybody.
He's out of stiltbeast Studios and Hot Dogs. He has his own little vending company. So, I mean, he's like been in everybody's favorite person since I can remember from the YouTube days. He's probably like the first person that gave everybody the courage to try their first prop. If you don't know Alan, then I don't know what to tell you. So go ahead and say hi, Alan.
Hi, everybody. That was a very kind introduction. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I probably stuttered quite a bit. Okay, next off, we got Kathy LeBeau, and she is going to answer all your questions. You just ask them on the Facebook page, and she will relay them to the guest. We have David Ace of David Ace's.
How do you do? How do you do?
And we have Jeff Fields, our sponsor. So, woohoo! You got everybody giving some props for that from Face Factory Effects. Woo! Oh, yeah. We have Jamie, and she's going to be doing our prizes and saying who won, and she's going to be doing the pictures. She's taking over Phil's job. Woohoo!
Phil, we miss you.
Yeah.
A lot.
Just because he kept stuttering everybody's names last
Everybody's going to miss him after this.
And we have Tony Buck from TonyBuckFX Studios. Woo-hoo! And he was a quick fill-in for John Lavelle that he had internet problems, and Tony was kind enough to step in and take over that spot. So before we get started, we're going to go to Jamie, and she's going to show us the prizes that everybody's going to win today.
Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, where's my list? Okay, here are the prizes for tonight, and we are starting off with this fabulous mask from Face Factory FX from our very own Jeff Fields, who's here tonight. Next, Fright Props is giving away rust dust, so you can make anything rusty with this product.
Great stuff, great stuff.
Good.
Sinful Audio is giving away one free SFX library, 25% off of original sound design, and 10% off of amps and speakers. Ornaments is giving away this NOLA Crypt ornament. One lucky winner is going to get 1 gallon of fog from Froggy's Fog.
Froggy's Fog. Froggy's Fog.
You gotta love the fog.
And someone is getting 6 awesome badges that you can award to your actors from Scarrett Badges.
Woo-hoo! That's the first time you got that right.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Okay.
We're evolving.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. All right. Sam Haynes is giving away 50% off to everyone watching tonight if you use the word haunters when you order. One lucky winner tonight will receive a realistic-looking skull from Nightmare Makers.
Yeah.
Right. Still more? Jesus.
Still more?
How many prizes are you giving away?
All of them, man. All of them. Someone's getting $25 gift certificate from XFX Makeup.
Yeah. Woo!
Exotic Lenses is giving away 1 free non-prescription normal size pair of lenses of your choice from their website. One lucky winner is going to get this amazing mask from Missing Finger Productions. Haunt Labs is giving away 4 coasters and $10 off your order.
Oh, that's got to be it.
Last but not least, Outlier Foam Factory is giving away a $25 gift card. Now, this part is very, very important. You need to stay till the end of the show, because if you win a prize tonight, you need to contact Diablo by tomorrow evening. If you don't, you forfeit your prize. So stay and watch.
Or come back and make sure you've seen if you won.
But nobody wants to leave because this is an amazing
That's true.
group.
No one's leaving. Not with these people on. No. Okay. All right, Alan, I'm gonna let
Okay,
you
wait,
take.
sweetie, did you want to talk about the
Oh,
shirt?
that's right. All right. Well, this is it. Where's the picture?
I don't have a picture because you didn't tell me.
Oh, good God.
Oh my.
Okay, Jose, stand up.
Stand
Stand
up.
up. You were the picture. Okay, there we go. These are the new Haunters Hangout shirts. Everybody needs one. So go to Haunters Hangout. You can find the link to them. They are $26 for the regular sizes. Plus sizes are a little bit more expensive. All proceeds go to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So don't miss out. Get your shirt.
All right. Okay. Now it's your show,
Now
Alan.
we can talk about masks.
Right. Now we're talking about masks.
All right. So we have a lot of folks here. Are we all latex people?
Yeah, I am.
For the most
Yeah.
part, yeah.
Yes.
I'm super latex. Yeah.
I'm so latex.
That went somewhere I wasn't intending.
Did we mention latex should be the drinking word?
So, I mean, we didn't really specify that when we were kind of talking like this is the mask show. There's a ton of different kinds of masks out there. And latex is what most of us here, make our masks in. What do you guys feel? Have you guys been latex people the whole time? Did anybody start with silicone and move over? Or
No,
not
I've
all?
always been too
around-
scared. I've always been too scared because silicone is like so much more of a process,
So much more expensive.
so
Well,
much more expensive, and even painting it.
If you spill latex, it's a $2 puddle. If you spill silicone, it's an $80 puddle that you just spit on the
Exactly.
floor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right. I started with foam latex and then moved over to regular, but I was also around an attraction where we made several silicone masks at the same time because they wanted something that would be more realistic, but in Texas it just wasn't as realistic with our heat to continue with as it was a latex mask.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we made, I think, about 4 or 5 at Terror Nights, and then we never made any more.
So is there a reason why you guys are latex? Obviously, we just got it from Jeff, but is there a reason why you guys are latex over silicone aside from the cost factor? Personally, I love silicone masks that they came on the market because it used to be, people would say $40 for a mask. That's a lot of money. And now that there's silicone mask companies and they're $800, I can bump my prices to, 80 or 100, and that I'm still seen as being very reasonable.
Right.
It's a lot of work.
Well, to me, silicone is like it is the most realistic looking. Like it's up there with like prosthetics. Like there's some silicone masks that look better than some prosthetics, but as far as realism, but it's just so much. It's not really the cost, I would say. It's just like so the so much goes into it. You have to have like the mold in the middle of a mold and all, and you have to use silicone and tint it to paint the silicone, and I mean you can't just slap some acrylic paint and airbrush it like latex. To me, it's just the ease of it, I guess, is why I go with latex.
One of the things that I love about latex mask making is you're taking tree sap from a rubber tree, you're taking rocks and stone plaster, and then you're taking mud, which is clay. It's a very natural process. Right. And I think sometimes with the silicone mask, chemicals kind of get in between you and your art a little bit.
Absolutely. I know a lot of guys that use the wax-based clays that'll sit there and use those torches and just burn the clay till it's pliable enough for them to start playing with it. And I'm like, you guys are like just breathing all that in? Just all right.
Jennifer Daigle wants to know, what is more durable, silicone or latex?
I'm gonna
latex.
let the panel go. Yeah.
I would say latex because I mean you see all the time about silicone masks. They have like you back it up with meshing and all that, but it can rip on you if you don't take it off just right. It can rip, but you use a good latex and you got to really just hammer down on that thing to rip that bad boy.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be how thick the latex is cast.
That's also true.
You can get a really thin mask, it can rip in a day, or you can get a thicker mask and it lasts a couple, 3-5 years.
Right.
I think there's also the factor that since latex is organic, it's going to break down over time, whereas silicone over time won't be affected by the sweat. It won't be as affected by chemicals and things. So in theory, a silicone mask should last, 30 years.
Yeah.
That's why it's so pricey.
Well, that's part of it, and that chemical process. And the molding for a silicone mask, making a mold for a latex mask is a little bit complex, but a silicone mask mold with an interior core, that's a beast. So I'm going to run some questions down the panel, if you guys don't mind. Kathy, do you have any questions that you want to do first, or?
Whatever you like. I have plenty of questions, or however you want to go.
Well, why don't you go ahead and ask a question, and then I'll ask a question down the panel, and then we'll bounce back and forth.
Well, Jeff Foster asked a good question: is what is the best piece of advice for someone that wants to start mask making?
Learn. I mean, there's plenty of online tutorials, from Alan Hopp's videos to Stan Winston's School of Character Arts. Consume knowledge. Something that I learned very early on is you're never going to stop learning a new technique.
Never.
David, what's your chunk of advice? What chunk of advice do you have for someone who wants to learn?
Well, let's see here.
Sweet hat.
I'm going to piggyback off them. That makes complete sense. I would find the artist that you connect with most. There's nothing worse than listening to a teacher just draw on that you can't stand. This is how you make it. It's like you got to have. I like Ed Edmonds. Ed Edmonds is my guy. He's very energetic. He's a sweetheart. He's like top 5 in the taunt industry.
Nicest man in the industry.
Absolutely.
Without doubt.
And I follow a lot of what he does. I like. There's just so many people on Instagram and Facebook that make masks and make props and stuff like that. There's a plethora. I would find the people that you like the most, watch some of their videos and some of their tutorials and stuff, and then work on it from there.
And Tony, new mask maker, what advice have you got?
I would have to say, my main thing would probably be just don't give up. That would be the main piece of advice, because I mean, there's going to be so many times I just started not too long ago, and like he was saying, you learn something new. I learn something new every single time I sculpt something. And then, whether it's how to do wrinkles or texture or something, I learned. But if I would have just, I've seen a lot of people that are like, man, this sculpt sucks. This doesn't look very good. I'm just not cut out for this. Nobody's really cut out for. You're not going to be Jordy Shell straight out of the gate. I mean, just.
I hear that Jordy Shell was Jordy Shell right off the bat.
Yeah, he's he won the game. Once you get he wins. So as far as sculpting, in my opinion, but just don't give up.
Yeah,
just keep learning.
And I'm going to give a little bit of counter advice to what was given, but I do agree with what these guys have said. Don't have paralysis by analysis. Don't feel like you have to learn everything before you start. I can help somebody way more if they've already screwed up a couple times, because then, they know the language, and they're not asking questions that have no meaning. They're asking the right questions because I've already screwed this up. How do I not do that again?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because there's so many times I've seen I can see the sculpt. I don't know if any other artists do this, but I can see it done in my head. And then it's just just point A to point B to get there. Then I'll start sculpting. And I'm like, it just doesn't quite look right. And I get frustrated. I want to give up. And I'm just like, man, I just want to start over, try something. But then just all of a sudden, it'll kind of just come into focus, and I'm like, whoa, there it is.
Yeah. Which one of you guys was talking the other night about how you do multiple sculptures at the same exact time?
It wasn't me.
I mean, I work on multiple. I'll switch back and forth.
Yeah.
Only because I lose sight of what I want on one.
Yeah.
So I'll move on to get a fresh set of eyes. Or one of my favorite things to do is take a picture of a sculpture when I don't like it and turn it upside down. You can see the shapes better.
Yeah.
Even taking a picture and looking at the picture gives you a different perspective.
Right.
You know,
Well,
for me.
You're all talking about this sculpting, and Mike Bachman had a good question. When sculpting the clay, what do you do to keep the symmetry of the facial features? Are there markers you use to keep the eyes and ears level and equal size?
There are tools like this that can help with symmetry. I don't concern too much with symmetry overall with wrinkles and whatnot. I'll try to line up my ears as much as possible. And I don't remember where this came from, but when I was early starting in sculpting, the haunt owner I worked for repeatedly told me, "You're not at a bake sale, you're making monsters. Nothing has to be perfect." So that's what I always say to myself about symmetry.
Did you say you're not at a bake sale?
Yeah. I have no idea where it came from.
Okay. I don't necessarily consider bake sales the pinnacle of perfection.
Well, the perfect cake. You know, cake. Decorating the cake.
Okay.
This is why you invited women to this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any tricks for symmetry in your sculpture?
You could cheat with a half mask. You can get an armature that already has a face on it, and then slap the clay on that and just start working away. The eyes and nose and everything's already there. You just start going at it.
Yeah.
So are you saying that you don't use a head armature when you sculpt, David?
Oh, this craft's from mASK. This is like a foam
but you were just saying, to use one. Do you ever not use one?
When I make something that is too small, like the head on like a baby character or something that I'm doing for a haunted house, I will make that just with my hands, and I don't know, I just play with it until it looks like the picture. I got a big morgue board or whatever they're calling it, like he's got over here. So you got a bunch of different angles of it. You just play with the clay until it looks like it. And if it's not looking like it, take a break and do something else. Come back and see why it doesn't look that right.
When I'm concerned about symmetry, one of the things that I do is I take a picture of it, and then I double the right side in Photoshop, and I make one head out of two right sides. And then I double the left side, and I do one head out of two left sides. And sometimes they look like different creatures from the same race because, the symmetry is just a little bit off. And then I nudge it because I kind of feel like you don't need it to be 100% symmetrical because people aren't. Yeah. But the amount that I'm going to be off if I try is about the same amount that nature is. So that's why I still shoot for symmetry. I'll never get it perfect.
Yeah.
But.
Right. And I think like one of the first things, like 101 when you're sculpting something, which I learned real fast, was make sure you build up before you start sculpting. Because I had like the perfect mask I loved, and the damn thing wouldn't fit over my head once I was done.
Latex shrinks.
Latex shrinks between 8 and 15%. And I've kind of found that the faster it cures, the faster it dries, the more it shrinks.
Right. Yeah, I learned that right off the bat. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I've been there, Diablo. I feel your pain, brother.
So I have a question for the panel. Why do you guys choose the sculptures that you choose? What makes you sculpt the things that you're making now?
Yeah, we'll start off with David.
I'm a freelance kind of guy, so pretty much whenever somebody hits me up with an idea and I like the idea, I'll jump into it and go for it. That's about it.
Yeah, so you're commission based and you make what the customers want.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Jeff.
Mine started out based off what I wanted to do, but then continued and based off of popularity to what my sales were.
So now you only make clowns?
Yeah, a lot of them. A lot of them. I've made other things and they just still don't do as well because of the other mask popularity that I sell. One of my second close running up in popularity was the goat skull. And because it was an ultra cal mold, I discontinued it with it deteriorating over time. So I'm making a full head goat skull versus a half mask.
Will you make a goat skull clown paint version?
Yay!
I never did with the old ones, so I have no plans to, but I will not say that it won't ever happen because you always have a customer coming around who wants something unique or odd.
Oh, it will happen.
Oh, it will.
I'm sure that order's coming from you, right, Tony?
That's right. It will happen. You will
So-
see a clown goat skull.
Tony, why do you sculpt what you sculpt?
I would have to say, like now, kind of like what David said. I'm more of a commission type. Like people tell me what they want. I mean, I like making someone's idea come to life. Like that's when someone says, or sends me like a drawing or something, I try to put my own little spin on it. But I try to do like my own style. It just seems like my style always turns out like, no matter if it's a zombie or something with hair, I always just seem to, gravitate more like 80s hairbands hair or something. All my masks seems to have like this wild 80s hairband hair. I guess that's my style coming out or something. I don't know.
Tony, you definitely have a style because I can look at a sculpture and I can tell, hey, Tony made that. So you definitely have a style that comes through in the clay, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think all artists have their own kind of style. You can tell who made what, like you said. Mine just seemed to look like, Whitesnake for some reason. I don't know.
Nice. So, Kathy, you got any from the panel?
Well, I was just going to say, can we talk about tools for a little bit? Mark Hallis would like to know what's the top 5 tools that you all use, or even for a beginner.
Homemade. I was going to find my.
Homemade.
Yeah. I like this guy right here. This is one of my favorite tools. It's a dental tool, I guess.
Oh, a little spatula?
Yeah, and it's pointed on one end. And
nice.
Then it's like that. This is really good for like teeth, making teeth. But as far as like sculpting, my one tool that I use and sculpt almost every mask is literally a broken chopstick that I taped a paper clip on the end of. It's a broken. I was trying to find. Let's see here. Yeah, it's around here somewhere. But it's a broken chopstick. That's my go-to tool.
Okay.
So Jeff, what about your sculpting tools?
I have no idea if you're going to be able to even see these. I'll put it up against these. These are my 2 favorite. They're little tiny tools I typically use for wrinkles or fine detail, but just about every sculpt I've ever done, these have touched. Other than that, and these can even be homemade, but I bought CES sculpting tools, which is just a whole bunch of different rakes from coarse to fine.
Yeah, I did totally the opposite. I just bought like every single kind of tool there was, just in case I need to.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I never touch, but it was buying them out of seeing what would work and what wouldn't.
Okay, so the one tool that you did have, can we see that again? Because I got that one and I have no idea what it's used for.
I believe they're actually both from Ken's Tools. Let me.
Ken's the man.
No, Kemper and they're both Kemper tools.
My favorite sculpting tool is a Kemper W21.
Okay.
That's
I don't even
favorite.
know which ones these are.
Yeah, it's written on there in gold on the flat part.
W23 and WS.
So, David, what about you and sculpting tools?
What? Hello, everybody. I just bought a box of Arteza wooden handled tools. And then one day I was like, okay, I like these 3. The rest of them suck, so they'll stay in this box. So,
Yes.
yeah, it just depends on what you want to do. I like these ones with the balls on the tip. I don't know if you can see those or not.
Yeah, ball stylus.
Yeah,
And I'll actually use it like a pencil and like get in there and just get up in there like you would with a rake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Make
kind
a
of knocks.
forest too.
Yeah.
I just bought a whole bunch of them too. I don't even know what they're for.
I found mine, Diablo. Here it is. Look. A chopstick with a paperclip on the end of it.
Hell is that?
So, Tony, I don't know if I should be alarmed or not, but every tool you've held up to the camera has a hair stuck to it.
It does.
With the hair stuck to it.
Everyone so far.
I've seen it too.
Oh, I have no idea how much cat hair I ingest on a daily basis.
Well, good times.
So I have a question for Bob Kowal. Can we talk a little bit about clay? He wants to know what are the benefits and downsides of different types of clays.
Panel.
Down the panel.
Panel time.
Oh, go ahead.
Let's go backwards. Tony first.
Tony, okay. I would have to say I use wet clay because, I mean, the monster clay and the oil-based clays, you know, it's a little bit, you get more working time or whatever. I can still spritz my clay, but honestly, like the only reason I use wet clay is number one, it's cheap. And a lot of people will like, when they mold their sculpt, they reuse the clay. But sometimes, like, I tried that, and when I mold it, I'll get little pieces of, like, plaster in there. And there's nothing worse than when you're getting in fine detail, trying to do some wrinkles around the eye or something. There's a big chunk of plaster stuck in there. And you got to dig it out. And then, you know, like, so I just use new wet clay every single time. I can go to Hobby Lobby, use a 40% off coupon, and get it for like $6. You know, it's cheap enough that I just use a new box every sculpt because it's fresh. I ain't got to worry about stuff stuck in it.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
And Jeff?
I prefer oil clay, but wet clay is great for large, fast sculpting. I was under the impression tonight that I was going to be using wet clay, and I could have definitely done this in oil and spent much more time versus this sculpt would have to be molded within 3 days, where I could spend weeks working on one with oil.
And David.
Well, how do you do? So, the wet clay is water-based, obviously. That's what I use most of the time because it's easy to clean up. The wax or oil-based clays tend to get their little booger balls all over your carpet, everywhere, or in your shop, and they get in your shoes, and I don't know, it's annoying. But the great side about oil-based clay is the fact that, just like they were saying, it never dries. So that Pennywise has been sitting there for 2 months, and he's still squishy. Whereas if I would have done that with this would be a piece of furniture now.
A cracked piece of furniture.
Yeah. Horrific piece of furniture.
I use wet clay because I feel like I do better if I have a clay I can manipulate as fast as I can think.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have an idea for a form, and if I have to manipulate oil-based clay to get it workable, then that idea is gone or changed. Yeah. So water-based, I can slap it on there, and I can sketch with it, and then come back and refine.
Yeah. And the one I use is that Laguna wet clay that Ed Edmonds uses. And you can get that for like 50 pounds of that stuff for what, 20, 30 bucks?
Yeah, about 25 bucks.
Shipped it right to your front door. I mean, you can't beat it, you know?
Yeah.
Can't beat it, that's for sure.
So, David, while we're going, you mentioned Ed Edmonds. Who are some of your main influences for your mask work?
Ed Edmonds would have to be the first one, and then Tom Savini, Greg, what's his name? Nicotero that does The Walking Dead. Nick Nicotero. Can't never say his name right.
Greg Nicotero.
Yeah. Some of those guys, and there's a lot of new guys that are coming out too that are pretty awesome. I just started adding people in the last week or two on Facebook, and there's some up and coming artists that are really, really good. And yeah, anyway, that's about it for me.
Jeff, who are some of your influences?
I will agree with K&B Studios, Greg Nicotero, Robert Kurtzman. They've done some amazing things. Other than that, I don't generally watch too many artists. I look at more physical paintings and I do sculpture art. But I'm a huge like surrealist fan when it comes to even paintings.
Gotcha. And Tony.
Oh, well, of course, as I mentioned earlier, like some of my like idols, I guess you would say, would definitely Jordy Shell. He's like the guy is just amazing, and then
and he's funny.
Yeah, he's a hilarious dude.
Love him.
And then Mikey Rotella, I mean, he's a beast.
Yeah.
And I'd have to say, and even like Jonathan Fuller, I've seen his stuff, and that guy is just. He's like not even human, I don't think. Like he'll sculpt something and he'll say, well, I've got this new sculpt done today. And it's like, it would have taken me 6 months to do that. And then tomorrow he'll have another one done. I'm like, man, how does this dude ever sleep? Like, but his Jonathan Fuller sculpts are just amazing. Like, I mean, detail wise, those are some of my influences.
As a host, I'm not supposed to answer questions, but I would be remiss if I did not. I would be remiss if I did not mention somebody's feedback. Anyway, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Don Lanning and Andrew Freeman.
Yeah.
If you can look up those two guys, Don Lanning and Andrew Freeman, amazing sculpture work.
I have a book by one of those guys, actually.
Yeah, Andrew,
I don't know if it was in a group or public, but I know about a year ago, Andrew was posting photos of like step-by-step process of sculptures, which would be really helpful for beginners with sculpting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Almost everybody in this field is super nice and super approachable, and you can, go right up to them and talk to them. There's very few jerks in the mask making community I have found.
Mm-hmm. There are some though.
Well, yes, but we don't have to talk about them right now. Kathy, do you have any questions from the page?
I do. Oh, I have questions galore. But do you want to start talking about molds a little bit? Sean Boswell wants to know how long can you use the molds, and what do you do with the molds after, like, what you have left over?
Okay, so
what do you do with the molds you have left over? That's what it is.
How many masks can you get out of a mold, and then what do you do with your molds once you're done with them?
Yeah.
Right.
David?
I, personally, how do you do? Whoever asked that question. If I use UltraCal, get like 15. If I get HydroCal, you get about 20, 25, but the details kind of And then if I use #1 pottery plaster, it's kind of similar to that one. It's kind of grainy. Anyways, there's a third one that I was going to save. I can't even think of the name right now.
Dental Stone.
No, it was something else. Damn it. Anyway, whatever the other one is, would get you like 30 to 40 prints out of it or whatever before it started shipping away pretty bad. But overall, I would say after I get done using my smash them to shit and I take them to the garbage dump. There you go.
And Jeff, same line of questions.
I tend to fix cast for a long time, or the mold, fill in air bubbles that were created in the mold, whether it was surface or deep. So I tend to pull between like 50 and 100 out of one mold before I'll call it done. Foam latex, I'll get a lot more out of those than I will latex cast. But I'm also moving with foam latex over BJB 1630, which will last a lot longer than UltraCal will. I have yet to make a mold in hydrocal because it's just too soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want more copies than a hydrocal mold will offer. And I have heard of additives for ultracal. I just haven't used any to make it allegedly stronger.
Tony.
Well, I mean, I generally use ultracal because, you know, it's harder. You get more pulls out of it. And I don't know, you know, I'm always trying to come up with new. I'm kind of the person that, you know, is trial and error. So I usually retire my molds. Once you see the details start getting less and less and less, and I always think that they get like, I call them like skin tags, because they like,
Yeah,
once
yeah.
you get these pulls, you'll have these little skin tags. But I've actually adopted this thing where I'll take, like, you know, seam the mask. Like, I'm talking a 2-part mold. I'll seam the mask, do everything perfect, and then I'll foam fill it, and then just do one cast with ultracal, and then it's kind of like you get a whole new. Before that, you lose all the detail. You get a whole new, which I learned that from Ed Edmonds. Get a whole new mold, and then it's just a one-piece mold. You don't have to worry about seaming it anymore. I mean, that's something I've done a couple times, and it kind of saves it. It breathes new life into that sculpt.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And what about your best mold release? Stephen Reich would like to know.
Foam latex has its own mold release. For latex, I don't use any.
Yeah, really for latex from a plaster mold or any kind of a stone mold, you don't need any kind of a release. It just comes out. Time is your release agent.
Right.
So
Time is on my side.
Maybe. So I have a question for the panel, and I'm going to start with Tony. But I want everybody to answer this. Do you have a favorite mask you've ever seen sculpted by someone else?
Man, you would have to ask me that. I don't know. I kind of like. That's a hard one. Like, there's
Sculpted by someone else, a mask that you like.
What's the guy? I guess it's from Legend with the big black horns.
Darkness.
Yes, I really like that one. I just have to say that's one of my, you know, Grail masks I'd like to own one day. Something like that. You know, that thing is just wicked. I'd put it in my living room. My wife won't let me, but I would put it in my living room.
Might be a little Satan-y for a living room, but that works.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, favorite mask sculpted by someone else.
Hey, and I think Jeff's the one feeding back, guys.
Am I?
Yeah.
Give me just a second. I'll be right back, Alan.
Well, then let's go to David.
Hey. How do you do?
It's so quiet now. Yeah. Jeff was the problem. So, David, favorite mask sculpted by someone else?
Well, I don't rightly know.
Hard one, isn't it?
I like a lot of different masks that Trick or Treat Studios puts out. I hate Trick or Treat Studios. I'm not gonna lie, but they have a lot of good artists that make really good masks, and they're cheap, and I like cheap. So, yeah, I'd have to go with.
You know, that's what. Tony, did you have another idea?
Well, I think Mikey Rotella, he does some sculpts for Trick or Treat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like this guy right here is a full mask. Anyone? Come with me.
Nearby visual reference.
Yeah. This is Trick or Treat Studios, $60 all day.
Aww.
Yeah.
And that's gorgeous. Look at the detail on the neck.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
That's what I strive to be. I want to be the guy that makes $60 masks that people are like, holy shit, that's only $60.
So while you're there, let's let Jeff, are you back and ready to answer the question?
I'm not ready to answer the question, but I'm back.
Well, we did kind of move on to price point. So why don't you go with this one? What do you think is too much for a latex mask? And then what do you think, how much should a latex mask cost? And what are those factors, everybody?
Don't lowball yourselves, guys.
My factors are going to be time that I spend on the mask and material costs that go in. So if I end up hair punching a mask, which could take hours, it'll cost a lot more than if I attach a wig to a mask.
What is your most expensive mask?
As of right now, it'll be the bear mask at $200.
Gotcha. Tony?
I would ultimately like to sell one of my masks for $5,000. So I only have to make just one a week, and then I'll be happy. But that's probably not going to happen. So I price mine like, like Jeff said, it's like, however long it takes to make it. I think it's ridiculous that, some of these people are, putting their mask $500-600, and it's like, it doesn't take that long. Like if it takes me a long, I have some masks that, I have to do a lot of rivets on and stuff like that, then I'll make it a little bit more expensive. My most expensive mask is like pretty close to $300, but that's only if it's like, takes a long time.
Is that your Krampus mask? I think that's.
Yeah, the Krampus mask. See, and then there's a lot of hair on there. I don't punch it, but I have to do a lot of hair.
A lot of 80s hair.
Yeah, a lot of hair. And I go through some permablood, man. Let me tell you, like 80s hair and permablood. Every mask that I have has that.
That's kind of a hallmark of yours. Yes, sir.
I'm like, this looks cool. Ooh, permablood. Now it's ready.
So, David, you got to start it on that $60 remark. So let's talk price point. What's the most expensive mask you make or have ever made? And then where do you think they should be priced?
It really depends. I've seen people make gigantic latex masks that go all the way down to your crotchal region that cost $350, and that makes sense. It's a lot of material. But me personally, I kind of like to stick in the $60 area. The most expensive I had was about $180, and it was for a full head pig mask that I did for a haunted house in Ogden, Utah. And yeah, I sold like 5 or 6 of them on Etsy or something like that, and then the mold kind of just took a dump. But yeah,
gotcha.
180.
Cool. Kathy?
I have more questions. Sean Boswell would like to know, what is the best way you have found to paint your masks? Airbrush, hand paint, etc.?
My answer is yes, but now let's go to Tony.
Such a broad subject. Of course, airbrush, you could get a lot more detail. When I first started, I was hand painting all my masks, but it looked like that, like hand painted. And it wasn't, you don't get that, like the subtle shadows and stuff like you do with an airbrush. And I mean, it took some time to learn how to use the airbrush, but once you learn how to use it, it's just no comparison to hand painting. I mean, you can get veins and all that. It just, you can add different layers with an airbrush too, and, thin it out, stuff like that. So,
Jamie, while we're answering this question, you want to scroll through some photos?
Oh, well, sure.
Kind of while we're talking.
Now that I'm so not ready, absolutely.
We don't have to talk about the ones that are up, but if you scroll through some of the photos that are provided.
Yeah, who are we starting with? I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, it don't even matter. You just roll photos. You just roll some photos while Jeff is telling us about painting masks.
Oh, Jeff. Okay, well, let me go back.
Both. I use hand painting on just about every mask as much as I do airbrush. Like Tony said, you can get a lot of subtle detail with the airbrush, where I want a lot harder lines with a hand paint. And then sponging, so you get gradual colors that blend together, because our skin tones aren't one color, it's a bunch of colors built up. So you can sponge on colors to build a good skin tone as well.
What colors do you use when you're doing that?
If I'm doing human tones, I normally start with red or olive tones. I generally use primary, secondary colors, then raw umber and burnt sienna. And I'll mix whatever color I need from those.
Gotcha. And David?
Yes.
What about painting masks for you? What kind of techniques do you use?
I use Ed Edmonds mixture of regular latex paint.
Yes.
The what is it? The
Third.
1/3,
Exactly.
1/3, 1/3. Yeah.
And it's pretty much fault proof. I used to use the acrylic clay or an acrylic paint from Walmart, the apple paint or whatever that stuff
Apple
is.
barrel.
And it would mix it, and it would always dry out, and I would stretch the mask, and it would crack. So I quit using that, and now I use Createx only. I don't use anything else but Createx paint. And then I'll use airbrush with FX inks, and it never stocks up your airbrush or anything. I used to try to pass latex paint through my airbrush, and I lost many brushes because of that. So, one, because I never clean them.
I was about to ask.
That's why I use a lot of $20 airbrushes, you know?
Yeah, exactly. All day.
If I'm pretending I make $20 an hour and it's going to take me an hour to clean it, throw it out, buy another one.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have another question. What do you guys consider to be your niche? Like, what is your niche in latex mask making?
Sock mask.
You are the sock mask guy.
That's what I started with, and that's what I first learned. And then I started doing slip cast after.
Gotcha.
I would say for me, probably customs, like weird stuff that people like can't find, and they're just like, I've had some crazy ideas, and I'm just like, that's weird, but I want to try it. I'll try it because I like to see, test my own ability and just see if I can do it or not. I guess but
Tony,
were
you the one who made like a Leatherface 3000 mask or something like that?
Yeah, Leatherface of the future.
Leatherface of the future. What was the story behind that, or is it just that's the name?
Yeah, that's what I named it, but it was like I had a guy come and he said, okay, here's what I want. I want a Leatherface type mask, but I want it to look like, Leatherface of like 2019, something new, like if he were to do it today or something. So I did it, and he actually took the mask to a con somewhere and took a picture with him and Tom Savini. Nice. And even Tom Savini was like, "Man, that's awesome," And I was like, "Put it in a movie." But even the Leatherface of the future, it was like I was collaborating with this guy, and he would send me a drawing, and then I was like, he goes, "Man, I would like it to have like a face on it somewhere." And then I was like, "Ooh, that would be cool if you were like looking out of the mouth, like for one of the eyes." So that was the Leatherface, and I called it the Leatherface of the future, and that's been a pretty popular mask.
That picture up there now has 80s hair. Is that one of yours, Tony?
That's the White Snake 80s hair right there.
And the perma blood.
Yeah. If Krampus was headbanging, there it is. All of mine just tend to turn out like that. I don't know why.
And David, what's your niche? What are you known for in latex masks?
Quitting and taking a hiatus for months at a time.
Nice.
I don't think I've found it yet, to be honest. I've been doing this for 5 years now, and I don't think that I've found it yet. So still looking.
How many latex mask molds do you think you've made? Like sculpted and molded?
Probably like 50. Like 50, 60, something like that, yeah. I have a storage unit right behind my house now where it's just shelves of these things now.
Full of rocks, yeah.
I was like, somebody breaks in here, they're going to be really upset.
Hey, Jeff, how many masks have you made? Sculpted and molded?
Yeah. I have no idea. I have a warehouse full of molds. I have a bunch that I've thrown out, and I keep around 20, 25 in the shop. But I have no idea overall.
Gotcha. Yeah, at one point I started counting and I got to 500. And so for the record, those first 500 all kind of sucked. They weren't very good. And then there was like 5 or 6 years where I didn't count at all. Like, I should probably start counting again. And then I got to 250 and I stopped. And now I haven't been counting. So I've made a lot of masks. I made a lot of ugly rocks.
Yeah.
Tony, how many masks do you think you've made?
This is my 4th year ever sculpting something in my entire life.
You know what though? It's really awesome that in our industry, you can be doing it for so little as 4 years, and jump. You're a name in haunted house masks for sure.
Yeah,
that's awesome. How many have you made?
I would say, I've probably got.
He looks behind him.
I probably got about 40 molds, I guess. So I'd say about 40, 50 different masks, somewhere in there.
That sounds about the 4 or 5 year range, right? Is that it?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's me.
That's about 10 a year. That's about 10 a year, which is that's cool. That's like a mask every month and a couple days.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I felt every bit of those, pulling those molds apart. But I started with like a quarter mask, and then I was like, "There's no way I can do a half mask." Well, then I was like, "Well, I'll try it." Did a half mask, and then people were like, "Oh, do a full head mask." I was like, "There's no way." But just watching videos and stuff like that, you just dive in, you mess a lot of them up, and just get we were saying earlier, learn something. I learn something new every single time. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, I'm the same way. So, Kathy, can you pull a question from the Facebooks?
Jeff Foster has a question. Do you prefer making full masks or half masks?
Half masks.
That was fast. All right, I guess we're on to Jeff now.
Slip cast is a lot easier and a lot less time. With sculpting on the sock mask, I generally only sculpt the face, so it's all on casting, and then everything is built off of an ultra-cal bust. So those typically take longer, whereas slip cast is going to be a lot faster. I do enjoy the process, though, of making a sock mask.
Gotcha. And just for those people who have been under a rock for, the past 20 years, what is a sock mask?
It is a mask that has a fabric base to it. You can use either slip cast latex for the face or foam. I think we made one with silicone at Terra Nights at one point. It just wasn't a very good slip cast or sock mask.
What's the advantages of a sock mask?
You'll be able to get a better fit and a little bit of movement.
Cool. And David, half masks or full masks?
I'm gonna go half because it's a lot easier.
I go half too because the molds they're more fun to deal with, but also there's very few characters that you can't get away with a half mask. Yeah. The back of the head is, it's often hair, and that covers a lot of it, or fur, or, there's a hood or something that you can have involved, but you can normally do it with a half mask, and I think they're generally more comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And people can wear them like a hat when they're at the haunt, when they're on break and stuff, That's what I always did, at least. But
sweet hat.
Yeah, bro. Then you lean down and do something, and somebody thinks you're staring right at them.
So, Kathy, what you got?
With the half mask, Chris Stone wants to know, what's your favorite way to attach the strap?
Ooh.
Attaching the strap, Tony Buck.
Well, I've heard people talk about different glues and everything, and I've heard people talk about, E6000. I have personally gone through several different types of glue, and I found this stuff right here for me, it's like 9001. Like, this stuff works really good, and it's like
I've never even heard of that.
Have you not?
Yeah.
No, never.
It's like you have to put it on both sides, and then you kind of blow on it, let it get tacky. But you put it together, and I've had some of them that I've ripped the latex before the strap would come off, and that E6000, I've tried that glue, but it's just
taking notes.
So long.
I would take notes on that too.
Yeah, me too.
9001. I get it at Hobby Lobby.
Okay.
But they actually quit carrying it, so I have to order it on eBay.
Oh, nice.
And Jeff, do you always avoid straps by making sock masks, or how do you put on straps?
No, generally with half mask, I use rivets, nylon straps with D-rings.
Got it. And David.
You're gonna make me move. I don't have one over here. I use Velcro straps that are adjustable and replaceable with snap buttons. And one of my things is when I sell one of those half masks, if that strap takes a dump in a couple of years because you've been working with it at your haunt, I'll get you a new strap for free. Strap on.
Customer service.
Sweet.
What the heck picture is this?
Hey! It made it! Woo!
Would you like to tell us about this mask?
So real looking.
That dog mask is excellent.
This is back when I was on PCP. Just kidding.
I mean, like 6 p.m. Yeah. So, all right. So I have a weird question that is a very serious question. And I want you guys to, when you answer it, pretend that an alien has just landed in front of you and asked you this question because they know nothing. And I'm gonna start with Tony.
Okay.
What is a latex mask?
It is a mask made of latex. And
Wow.
and that's it's something to me. A latex mask, or just a mask in general, it allows you to be something else for a moment in time that you normally aren't. Whether it's a band mask or a haunt mask or just a monster mask, anything like that, it's just it allows you to transform into something else. That you can be in a fantasy land for a minute. To me, made of latex.
Good answer.
Good answer.
All right, and Jeff.
A latex mask, in my opinion, is something that we can create out of our imagination to transform into something else, like Tony Buck was saying, temporarily. But in reality, it's taking a natural sap from a tree and creating something really cool with art.
Nice.
And David.
Yes, Alan.
Same question. You and that hat. Killing me.
Everybody still have their hats on? Everybody's got their hats on. Still.
Yeah, here we go. Here's David.
I would, first of all, I'd be like, well, where the hell is Will Smith? Yeah, I'd go with Tony.
So you're all right.
I'm going with Tony.
That's good. Okay. Nice. Kathy, you got a question from Facebook?
I have a couple questions that go together. Edie Blunzer wants to know, are there any females in this field? And Therese Hansel wants to know, why are there not more feminine, creepy, terrorizing masks? So many of us want properly fitting feminine masks.
Oh, I'll get some of that. I'll take some of that shit.
Jump on there.
I actually make a lot of different girls' masks or whatever, and I make them small so that they actually fit the ladies. I have.
This might be a picture of a lady wearing one right now.
Yeah, I have. I did like a nun chick or whatever, and other creepy girls and stuff. I try to do these because not a lot of people make masks for kids and women, hardly at all. So
Are there any women mask makers?
I do know a few, not by names.
Okay.
But one I got really jealous of and had to block her. I thought my stuff was better than hers, and she got more love than I did. And I was like, you know what? You know what? You know what? I don't need this shit. So.
Isn't there that? What's that girl? I've seen. There's one. I think her name's like
Vicky
Clarisi or something.
That's the one I blocked.
Is it?
Yep, there is.
Oh, that's her. She
See you
told me
later.
to tell you to
Sorry,
unblock.
Vicky.
So, Jeff, do you have any?
Yeah, no, I've made a few female masks. They, in my opinion, do not sell well at all.
They don't.
So I have not made many more because sales were not there for me to continue making them.
Exactly.
So if you do want more female masks in the industry, the sales have to be there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I actually make 2 or 3 every year that I add to my line, just because I want them to be out there, not because they sell, because they don't. But if you think about it, girls have makeup training from the time they're like 10 years old of doing some kind of makeup.
Yep.
So when it comes time for them to work in a haunted house, why wouldn't they do makeup? You know, and they also, they're just more attractive than dudes.
Well,
So
I have to say, beauty makeup is not the same as stage makeup, though.
It's very similar. It's very similar. I mean, you're putting stuff on your face, and your hand-eye coordination is there. I mean, there's all of those skills transfer. So
now, Alan, there is another issue that I run into with female masks, especially with hair and wigs, is keeping enough wigs in stock to list them online. Because I can a lot of times keep every color of wig in stock, and if that's ordered, then they're going to be waiting an additional period of time for that wig to come in. So I do have 2 female clowns, a doll mask, and others that just aren't listed. But if I get a female customer, I do tend to point them in that direction.
gotcha.
It's just like when you go through a fast food line and you want to order something that is going to take an additional time to cook. It's the same way where it's like, hey, this may take longer to make because I have to order this custom wig.
Gotcha.
And I would like to point out that every single one of my masks will fit on a female. I just want to make that known. It may be a little big, but it'll fit.
Every one of Tony's masks will fit you poorly. There you go.
I didn't say it would fit good, but it will fit any female out there.
That is the
That
best
with free
sales pitch I've
newspaper to
heard.
stuck up in there.
Just
Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
It's got an extra strap on it.
Yeah, our masks fit everyone, but just different people, different fit.
So, David, what got you into mask making? What made you start making masks?
Well, I'll tell you, Alan, Mr. Hops. I used to do a home haunt in Utah about 5 years ago or so. And it was Hills Horror Haunted House, and it was super dope. Anyways, I got sick and tired of having my haunt look like other haunts with these Walmart and Target masks. And I was like, how hard could it actually be to make a mask? And one day, I started watching your videos, started watching Ed Edmonds' videos, started watching Tom Savini and all these other guys. I just said, you know what? I think I got it. And I went for it.
Sweet. What was your first mask?
My first mask was this character. This is my guy. He's called the Coroner. And I used to play this character at Fright Dome at Circus in Las Vegas. And
Nice.
the mask I had for this character was, it was a serial killer's mask. I don't know if y'all ever seen that line before, but they're like $20. They're pretty cheap. And I had a mask from them, and my face started showing up on billboards in like Hong Kong and locally in Las Vegas and Boston. I believe it started with Fright Dome, started moving over there too. So I was like, dude, he's got this $20 serial killer's mask that is not mine. All over the internet, all over the billboards, all over everywhere. I was like, he's gonna get in so much trouble with this, dude. If these serial killers guys find out he's got this, you know. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my own mask. And the first one was horrific. was real bad. Yep. So that was the first one I made, was the corner.
My first mask was a poopy Sasquatch mask. It was pretty terrible. So, Jeff, what was your first mask?
It was a cloud mask that I sculpted for myself working at Terra Nights. I got really lucky when I transitioned into Terra Nights. The owner set me down and gave me a bust and gave me clay and told me to sculpt something. And I, prior to, did not believe I had any artistic talent at all. But because of previous anatomy classes, it was rather easy for me to jump in and figure out bone structure and muscle structure.
Okay, I just had a weird mental fart right there where I'm like, why on earth would someone take an anatomy class if they're not an artist? But I realized there's a whole medical field out there that's important too, I guess.
Yeah, no, I went to school for X-ray technician in the medical field for 2 years before I dropped out and started doing this.
Nice. And
so even in high school, I took an anatomy class, and then in college, I took 2 anatomy classes.
Gotcha. So, Tony, what got you into mask making, and what was your first mask?
Well, actually, you know, and I'm sure you get this a lot, Mr. Hobbs, but I was really just, believe it or not, I was an insurance agent, and I was sitting at a desk 40 hours a week, staring at a computer, and I've always had a love for Halloween, and I've just always, like, you know, loved how I used to buy my mask.
Hold on a second. Did you say you were an insurance agent?
Yeah. Yes, I was.
Carry on.
I
wanted to capture that moment.
Medicare supplements. And but yeah, I've always been into Halloween so much, and I live out in the country here in Arkansas. Like, I never had one trick-or-treater in 13 years, but I would always decorate my house for Halloween. And then I
can't imagine why they wouldn't come by.
Yeah, it's you hear banjos out here, let me tell you. And like, I had, like, you know, I used to buy my mask for Halloween from the Horror Dome. I don't know if you ever seen their stuff. And then I just started watching, like, Alan Hobbs and YouTube videos, and I was making props. I made your prop too. The first one I made on the prop was that Grim Reaper that you spray the bed liner on. Yeah. I still have that guy. He's awesome. But then I made like where it looks like you cut yourself like a prosthetic. And so I thought, well, I could get some clay. I saw YouTube. They said you get clay, and then you can get, you know, I was using plaster of Paris, you know, stuff from Walmart, and, you know, and then I had a guy said, hey man, I'm you know, I was making these prosthetics, and he said, hey, could you do a Twisty, the clown mask, for a Halloween contest? And I said, I had no clue who Twisty was. So that was actually, it was this one right here. This was the first thing I ever sculpted. The Twisty the Clown mask. And so he ended up winning the contest for like $1,000. It was awesome. So then he told me, you know, how much do you want for it? And I thought, wow, like, I just did this for fun. You're gonna pay me? So he you know, he gave me like $40, I think it was, and I looked at that cash in my hand. I was like, this is awesome. I just got paid for, like, partying in my room and
Exactly.
this thing. So and then it's just kind of taken off from there, really. Just bigger and better things.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
My love for Halloween, I guess, would be my answer.
And Kathy, you got something else from Facebook?
Yes. Anna Jones would like to know, how do you store your masks to keep them in the best condition? Do you put them on those styrofoam wig heads, or what is the best?
Well, my favorite Unit 70 prop is I'll get back to that. Sorry.
Jeff, help me.
Climate controlled areas, and I do typically store my mask on styrofoam bust or old busts that I have laying around that I no longer use.
And Tony.
I actually have these heads. It's made from a styrofoam bust, but let me pull this off. But you know those little styrofoam heads you get at Hobby Lobby? They're like, you know, $10 or whatever. Somebody somebody made a mold. I didn't make the mold, but if you look, see there, you can kind of see the head, but it's made out of that 2-part foam. You know.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just like, it's steady, but he made the mold out of that styrofoam head and kind of extended the neck on out a little bit. But that's what I store them on. It's like PU foam, I guess.
How many of those do you have?
I have the mold, so I can make an infinite number of them. I mean, right now I've got like probably 10 of them. That's what I used to paint on, as you can see. But I mean, I'll put put my mask on there. So it's just that foam. And it's got a wood base, like a round piece of wood. So it's weighted at the bottom. I mean, it works really good. But it was made from one of those styrofoam heads, like it's a fiberglass mold that he made it out of.
Gotcha.
And it's like
That's
you just
awesome.
pour that expanding foam in there. It's awesome.
So I'm one of the weirdos who I sell masks. I don't really collect them. I don't like keep a collection. And I don't like collect like old retro mask or something. There's a lot of folks who say that styrofoam heads are bad for a mask. And if you're collecting something like a 1950s or 60s Don Post mask or something like that, maybe don't store it on a styrofoam head. But I make masks for haunted houses, so their life expectancy is like 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Because haunters are hard on stuff. So over that amount of time, I don't think a styrofoam head is an issue, and that's what I normally keep them on if I keep some around.
Mark Callis would like to know, have you ever foam filled your mask for props?
No. I'm not opposed to it. I just haven't.
Yeah.
David?
I'm like tripping over a mask right now.
Get your life together.
I know, right? I unplugged my thing, so I was gonna go to the place over there, and I'm not. Okay, what were we saying again?
Foam filled mask for props.
Foam film mask for props. Yes, I actually used some of that stuff that Alan used at one point. I guess you get it from Home Depot or Lowe's. It's like a two-part
the Sika fence post foam.
Fence post foam, yeah.
I've seen that stuff.
Super inexpensive. It holds its shape. It's just as good as buying the $100 stuff,
Better than great stuff?
Oh yeah, great stuff. After about a year or two, that great stuff just starts to break apart, and I'm pretty sure that dust that comes off it gives us cancer.
Hey, and one thing about great stuff, foam filling the mask, that me personally, I think that the great stuff, it like kind of distorts the latex too. It'll distort it, to where I guess that latex, I mean, the great stuff is just really starts bubbling like crazy. But I've had it where it looks like, it had a big bot fly on top of the head or something, like, it just kind of bubbles out and just really distorts it. Like, but I use this stuff. DJB Enterprises. It's like a 2-part foam, expanding foam.
I follow them on Instagram. Actually, they're
it works good. It's kind of like couch cushion foam, but it'll only go where the mask will let it. It doesn't distort the mask to me.
Doesn't have a lot of outward pressure.
Yes.
And now, do you guys do that in the mold, or do you take the mask out of the mold and
I do it in the mold to keep from distorting any further? I do it in the mold.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff already said he's never done it. So, David, in the mold or out of the mold?
I'm sorry.
When you foam fill your masks, are they still in the mold, or do you take them out of the mold? Or both?
Full head mask, keep it in the mold. Half mask, keep it in the mold. Yeah, I just shave off the excess. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, Diablo, have you ever foam filled a mask? I know you make masks.
No, I have not.
You have not yet.
I'm still trying to make the mask.
You know what? You've made a couple good ones, man.
I don't know.
Yeah, you've made a few good ones. So, Kathy, do you have any more questions?
Corinne Singer would like to know, what is the worst part of making a mask?
Clean up.
Yeah.
Molding. Molding.
I'm gonna say latex in your arm hair.
Ooh.
Good one.
That's terrible.
Not as bad
Latex
as
on
great
your
stuff.
favorite shirt.
I have a bunch of masks that I've made, and at that point in time, I was really into just making a box mold. You know, put some wood around it and fill that sucker with plaster. Those molds are like 120 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a half mask, so it's terrible to, you know, because it's a couple cool masks, but I charge more for those because the molds are so heavy.
Man.
But yeah, so, you know, and then like everybody has said, imagine these guys who they've made 40 or 50 masks. We all have made 40 or 50 torso-sized rocks that we have to find a place to live, you know?
Yeah.
And God forbid you put it on a high shelf because it'll kill you if they fall off of there.
Right. I haven't made that many, and I've already thrown some away.
Yeah, we're in the rock making business.
Right.
Whether we sell a mask or not, we've still made giant rocks.
Right. I think like the worst thing for me, like doing it, is picking out oil-based clay out of the mold. If you like did too much detail that you didn't have to do. It was like totally, oh my God, it took me like a week to pick the clay out.
That's one of the reasons why I like wed is I take it out, I power wash it out, and and then I'm done. I clean my mold in 20 minutes.
I know, but I can't do a mask in a half hour.
So, you know what? That's actually a great thing for me to ask the panel here. How long do you take on an average sculpture? Anybody?
I would say, like, to me, you know, a half mask is going to differ from a full head. But even like a full head, I mean, usually about 4 or 5 days. You know, if I work on it 2 or 3 hours a night, you know, about 4 or 5 days.
So 15 hours?
Yeah, about 15 hours, I would say, you know. But then I've had some that's taken me up to over a month because I just can't seem to get it right, you know, like. But I just usually about 15 hours for a full head.
Yeah, can you use that clay and keep it right that long?
Absolutely.
Oil-based? Yeah.
Or water-based even. Sure.
Yeah, I've never had a problem with wet clay. I've had people say all the time, oh, it dries out. I'll cover mine.
Right.
Like I've got one like this. You know, I cover it with a plastic bag, you know. And then I'll just, it's loosely covered, you know. And this has been sitting for over a week. And what I do is just like spray it with a water bottle, like spritz it.
Tony?
It's good to go another week.
That I think was really good work right there. That was an excellent mask in the making.
What does WED stand for?
Oh yeah.
What does WED stand for, guys?
Walt E. Disney.
There you go.
What is it?
It was
Walt E.
created.
Disney.
It was created for the animators of Walt Disney so that they could sculpt out their characters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
There are two types of white clay. You have the gray version and the white version. Typically, the white is a little cheaper and normally used for your negative spaces on molds.
So, Tony, you said Walt E. Disney. You know what the E stands for?
Eunice.
I think it's Elias, but way to make stuff up.
So it's not Eunice? Okay, well, I guess not. Edward? Albert?
So I have a quick question. Do any of you guys have a holy grail mask that you want to sculpt, but you don't know that your skills are there yet, or there's some piece of technology or something in the way that you don't have yet, that you can't quite nail that sucker down?
My Krampus mask for sure. I actually have one copy of it over here. I just never got the horn situation right on it.
I love how every time Jeff slaps his sculpture, the camera cuts to him.
I have a question.
Him slapping away over there in the background.
I have a question about
You're
horns.
welcome.
So, are you going to show us your Krampus, David?
Yeah. This is a full head mask that I made, and I put horns in it or whatever. And I just never got the horn situation right to actually mass produce this thing at any level. But
That's awesome.
Nice.
it's pretty cool because he's got like snowflake detail on him or whatever in the back of his head.
There was a question about horns from Brandon Lancaster. When you add the horns to the latex mask, do you cast them with the mask or separately?
I've made the mistake of casting it with the mask and only got one print off a really cool mask that I made a few years ago.
How would you attach them if you were going to do it separately?
Stab it in the clay, see what you like, and then yank their asses back out, plaster it, and then do the horns later. That's what I would do. Honestly. Do the horns later.
Tony, you do a lot of horns.
I do, yeah. Right here. 9001, baby. But like, yeah. Like he said, I'll do the sculpture. I'll put the horns in the sculpture or whatever. And then I cast the horns separately. And then just, whether you cast the horns in like, 2-part foam or something like PU foam. I've been using this flex foam. Flex foam at 17, this stuff right here.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff works really good for horns. And I'll just cast them and then just 9001 them bad boys right on the mask. And it's
Now to be more specific too, if you want to do horns that are like this, this is okay to cast with your whole sculpture. This shit is not. This horn, okay. This horn, not okay.
Not okay. So I buy a lot of horns and I attach them on my like mid-level masks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a company called Elope that makes great like party horns and stuff, and you can find them on eBay. And so for a lot, I'll do that. But for my big Krampus mask and stuff, I'll make EVA foam patterns and make a nice big horn and attach that with.
Yeah, I saw your
videos.
I saw one of your videos. You did that form. You made the whole horn, and you make a pattern, and then cut it and glue it all together.
Yep.
And I actually ordered on eBay. I was going to try to do another Krampus mask, and I wanted like some more straight horns. So I ordered some actual animal. I don't know what it is, antelope or something. But when it came in, like, this is how big it is.
Wow.
I mean,
that's
there's two.
Perfect. What's wrong with that?
It's going to be like.
Well, that's your legend horns right there.
Yeah, you just said darkness was one of your favorites.
There you go.
There we go. There we go.
Tim Curry will be proud.
I think I'm going to mold these in silicone, and then I can use that expanding foam, that flex foam at 17, where it'll be this big, but still it's not as much weight.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try it. I already bought them. So the picture did not look this big.
They never do. They never do.
Really cool.
Okay. It's one of those nights. One of those.
Oh, man.
All right. So, Kathy, have you got another one?
Sean Boswell would like to know, where do you buy your wigs and hair for your masks?
I buy mine at the dollar store because I'm gangster like that. $1 gives me all that whisperer hair. That's $1.
Nice.
Yeah.
$2, it'll look like a normal head.
Depending on the type of hair, if I'm buying wigs, I typically go through distributors. But locally, especially when I'm hand punching hair, we have like local beauty shops that will sell packaged hair for $2 or $3.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can even get human hair or animal hair or synthetic. And it ranges anywhere from 99 cents up to $50 a pack of hair, depending on what the customer wants.
And Tony, where do you get your fabulous 80s hair?
eBay, baby. eBay. And pretty much, I usually, like, if they want a specific color, I mean, you can pretty much type in red wig with black streaks or something, and there's 2 or 3 of them on eBay. Like I usually just try to find them there, or you know, like Jeff said, I'll go to like the beauty shop. We have I call it the sister store here, and it's like this Vietnamese lady, and she has like anything that you could think of, you know. So I'll get it for like $1, you know, like, you know, just stuff like this. I can't get it off. You know, it just comes in big clumps, you know.
Sure.
And I can cut it, do whatever. I mean, this stuff works great. It's like $1. But it gives it that 80s hairband hair.
I find at least one clump like that every night the haunt is open somewhere on the floor. Somewhere. Every night we're open, somebody loses a weave.
So that's where you get your hair for your masks, huh? Off the floor.
I buy at a wig shop normally. If there's a local wig shop near me, or if I need something specific, I'll get it off of Amazon. That's me. How do you attach hair?
That was going to be.
How do you guys attach hair? Sorry, I'm stealing your questions, Kathy.
All right, you led us right into it.
Jeff, you were silent on. Well, you weren't silent, but tell me, how do you attach your hair?
Either with latex, E6000, hand punching, and then backing it with latex. So when you hand punch the hair in, you'll have a little piece that goes all the way through the mask, and you can brush latex in it, and then it'll hold it there permanently.
And that locks it in.
I've actually done that a couple times.
On the inside.
Yep.
Yeah. Hair punching is how you have chosen to get carpal tunnel. Because I tell you what, that takes a lot of time.
I regret the decision to ever start hair punching, but it's already started.
Can't go back now.
That's like, if you're in construction, never tell your friends you know how to do drywall. And if you make masks, never tell people you hair punch. Yeah.
Yep.
And David?
Yes, sir.
How do you attach hair? I see you have a Whisperer mask behind you. How is that attached?
I punched them. This is a ridiculous box. I don't even know where I got this box from. You can't even read it.
Nope.
But
I can't.
It's got different size needles in it for different types of hair that you want to punch. If you want to punch 5 strands at a time or 1 strand at a time, they're all different shaped needles or whatever. I'd love to tell you the company I got it from, but I just can't read it.
I believe Biddy. Yeah, Biddy sells those as well.
Biddy Mold Supply sells hair punching needles, and they're pretty awesome.
Yeah. They're all right. Yeah.
So you punch everything, David?
I do, and just until this week, I started talking to these guys. I'm gonna start doing what John Lovell was talking about too, with the latex and kind of combing it out and all that. So let's see how it goes. But right now, I punch hair. Yeah.
Gotcha.
We were talking about making our own tools earlier. I actually, when I hair punch, I take these X-Acto knife pieces and then I cut a sewing thread in half. That way I can grab more hair at a time. Especially with the back of the head, you can space out how much you hair punch and then poke in smaller threads in the front. It takes a lot of time away from just 2 or 3 strands at a time.
And Jeff was just doing a lot of thinking and talking at the same time. And he said sewing thread. He meant a sewing needle.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And you cut the sewing needle so it kind of looks like this, and then you're cutting this much of the eye off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody can see that.
So then, as it goes in, it grabs you. You hold the hair in a loop, and then you jab it in, and the hair stays in when you pull the needle out. It's like magic. And it's actually a really good process, and it gives you a really nice hairline. So I asked you guys about favorite mask that someone else has made. What is the favorite mask that you have ever made?
I haven't made them yet.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Favorite or most proud of?
That I'd say those are the same thing.
I'm most proud of the zombie chest piece and prosthetic that I made. In my opinion, it was one of my better sculpts.
That's
I think you sent that picture, didn't you?
I did.
you?
I did.
Here, let me find it.
The whole chest piece and everything.
Yep.
nice.
Oh, is that the one that has all the hair on the chest?
No.
No, that's the one where he's leaning
That was
forward.
my picture. That
It's
wasn't for
not
everybody.
he's not holding a little dog, is he?
I did, yeah, because of that the prosthetics were used in a promo shoot for a haunted attraction. I did later turn them into a sock mask, and then I took a nylon shirt and attached the chest piece to a shirt so it could still be used in the attraction without false advertising.
Is it this one?
Yeah.
That is cool.
Nice.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
I love that shit,
That's
man.
a good
That's
piece.
dope.
That's a good photo too.
That's super sick.
So, Tony, you were bought a lot of thinking time.
I would have to go with the Leatherface of the future.
Did you get a picture of that one?
Only because Tom Savini himself said he'd approved, and you can't get any closer
Yeah.
than that.
Once that
So-
happens, that's about it.
Yeah.
Did you
Send me
Tony,
a picture?
Did you send a picture of that?
No, I didn't.
Don't
Okay.
you're the proudest thing, and you didn't send a picture.
It's on my website. You go check it out on my website. No, I didn't. I don't think I have one either.
All right. So
No.
here we go. I have another question, which I assume that this episode of Haunters Hangout, hopefully there's some people out there who want to get into the mask making business. How do you sell your work?
When I started with eBay, and then I moved over to Etsy. I've been to a handful of trade shows, but I have not been to any in the last 2 or 3 years. Typically in the winter and spring, I take on film projects when a lot of the trade shows are going on. And in the fall, I'm busy with mask making from cells from Etsy.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Tony?
There's a little group on Facebook called HauntersHangout. And
I think I've heard of them.
I don't know if y'all ever heard of that or not, but it's I go in there and I'll post masks, but seriously, whenever I first started, I would just go in different groups and just post masks, just here, check this out, and then share it or whatever. And then I kind of graduated to eBay, and I started selling on eBay, and then I got Etsy and started selling on Etsy. And now, I'm just I'm not real computer savvy, but I just kind of got Instagram, and I've sold a lot on Instagram. It's crazy because you can hashtag what you want your audience to be, hashtag clown, or hashtag zombie, and then I've sold a lot on Instagram, but eBay and Etsy is probably the most that I sell my stuff on, I would have to say. Etsy is really cool.
And David Ace, any further tips?
Woo!
Sweetheart.
Same exact thing. I started off making stuff on social media, and then started making stuff on Etsy, started making stuff on eBay. Right now, I reeled it in since last October, and for now, I'm just doing freelance stuff. I don't have anything for sale. I don't have 15 masks on sale like I used to anymore. So I'm waiting to get back to that route, but I'm actually sculpting way different now too. So, but yeah, we'll see.
So I will admit,
the tip is what they said.
Okay. So I'll admit that as a mask maker, I am terrible at taking pictures of my masks. I don't even have pictures of all the masks I've made. And it's a little bit easier now because I try and take a picture and I'll post it on. There's a Facebook group called Latex Mask Central, and or I'll take a picture and I'll post it on Haunters Hangout or whatever. But do you guys have any tips on photographing your work? Or how important is photographs to the process?
Right.
I find, especially with the business, anytime that I typically post photos of new products or custom things that I've done, there will be a huge spike in how many people interact and see and want a mask after that.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I am pretty bad at social media and keeping up with posting. I will typically answer faster than I will post anything on social media. I think I posted something last week, and before that, it was 3 weeks ago on the Facebook page, if not longer. But I'm right there with you, Alan, where I only take pictures of something that I haven't done before. So if I have 4 orders on the same paint in different colors, I'm not taking pictures of it.
Right. But I've noticed like a lot of your stuff. I mean, you have the black background. You have a lot of good lighting on your mask, and I know for a fact that I've tried to get like the best angles on mine, and they always look like shit.
That comes from working on film and using 3-point lighting to make sure that it's lit the best. I do typically take the majority of my pictures with my phone camera, and I really need to switch over to the Canon and start shooting to get better detail and quality. Because I've especially noticed on Etsy when I'm uploading photos of masks, the quality isn't there anymore going through, I guess, their system.
Because your phone kind of dumbs it down, and then Etsy dumbs it down.
Yep.
Yeah. David, any photography tips, or is that not an avenue you head down?
I just bought a decent camera not too long ago and started taking pictures of. I had like my kids wearing the mask that I made and stuff, and we went out and took pictures out in the woods and out by railroad tracks and stuff, and it turned out a lot better than the old cell phone. But like a lot of people have said that we're even on the shows with on Wednesday, Saturday nights, they've also said that just depends on the lighting.
Yeah.
You could take awesome pictures of your iPhone. It just depends on how the lighting and everything is. So
I tend to very much take, here are pictures of a sculpture, not pictures of, I take a straight on, I take a this side 3/4 and a that side 3/4, and that's what I take. I guess I need to go a little more artistic when I'm doing them.
I'm thinking about starting to do like videos with it so people can see like how it fits and how it stretches with the mouth when you talk and all that, and then do pictures on the side. But
See, I've got a sweet iPhone 8, and like, and it's got like, I don't know if you've seen like portrait mode, where it kind of like fades everything in the background out and just focuses all the detail on what you want it to. So I usually take all my pictures with that portrait mode. But I've seen on eBay or Amazon, they have little like photo stations, and they're only like $50-$60. They're like, those things that you used to put in your window, like sunscreens and sunshades, are made out of like that kind of.
Yeah, they're super tiny though.
Are they?
Yeah, I bought one.
I've been thinking about getting one.
I bought one a couple of years ago, and it's no more than 2 foot by 2 foot.
Really?
When what I did is I took a shelf and I separated it by about 4 feet long, and the metal rack shelves that you can buy at Walmart or Home Depot. Then you can just drop cloth back and paint one of your busts black and put the mask on it.
Oh, well, that's much easier.
That way you can use clamp lights, put a soft light over them with 3 points.
Oh, okay. And take the photo with my sweet iPhone 8.
Yep.
I tell you what, it's a lot easier now than it was, way back to get photos of work. If I'm gonna diverge just for a moment. If you look at what Instagram has done to makeup, a lot of makeup now is done. It's just done to get that picture on Instagram. And one of the things that I love about mask making is, I think a lot of it, especially with the guys here, we make masks to be used in a haunted house. We're making a product that's going to be used, and there's a little bit of the bust sculpture where they're making art for art's sake and no one's ever going to wear it. Tony mentioned Jordu Shell. Jordu Shell is a phenomenal sculptor.
And very funny.
And a great guy. His masks aren't always the most comfortable to wear because it's a sculpture first and a mask second.
Yeah.
And, when you know, I just think that we have to always consider that there's a person inside of there that's got to act through it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've had some big masks that I wore through a haunt. Damn, they suck. I could literally like turn my head sideways and look out the other eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if the eyes are sculpted in, you know that if there's eyes sculpted in the mask, your vision is secondary to whoever made that. They're like, I want to look cool first, and they can look at nothing. You know,
like, I turned my head and the mask didn't move. I like literally looked out the other eye. I was like, what the hell?
Halloween Express.
Right.
So, Kathy, do you have any more questions from Facebook?
Corinne Singer wants to know, do any of you have sculpt hands or gloves to go with your masks?
Who's going first?
That would be a
Everyone.
no. That would be a no.
And Tony, no. And Jeff?
I have not made any release, but I have made gloves when I was working for Store of Doom. They just did not pan out very well, so I haven't put any time or effort into making gloves.
Yeah.
Well-
I hate gloves. Gloves is like worse than making a full head mask. Gloves suck.
10 times worse.
Oh my god, dude. I would rather buy a $10 pair of hands from Spirit Halloween and put that on my dummy before I ever make my own hands ever again. Jason Becker makes his own hands. God bless his soul.
And
God bless his soul.
it's when you make a mask, you're making a clay wall around the head, so that there's a front half and a back half. So this is a head, and the clay wall is the suckiest part about mask making, I think, because you have to get that sucker lined up.
And you're doing it around that.
angles.
And try to do it around this right here.
Yeah. So then your wall has to do all of this and cut, and that's why there's not a lot of glove makers out there. There just aren't, because they're a pain in the butt. And you know,
You're talking about pain, Alan. When I was working with Ryan at Store of Doom, we had started working on a type of sock mask for gloves where we were just sculpting the top of them and then attaching it with like nylon or the cheaper working gloves. We just never got to a full development stage where we could test how long they would last.
And Zagone Studios does that. They have a lot of the glove tops that are just the back of the hands.
Yeah.
I either want a full glove or I want no glove. Like that's where I'm at though. I don't like the
just the half glove.
I'm a monster snob. Surprise. So, all right. Is there a type of mask or a mask look that you guys hate? No?
I can't think of anything. I love everything.
Not necessarily.
Hate's a strong word, but I'm not a fan of sculpted eyes. I want the actor's eyes to be used as their eyes.
I mean, if we're nitpicking, I don't like sculpted teeth in a mask where it's consistently open.
I'm with him. I cannot stand teeth.
But I mean, I also understand that there are character masks out there that it works really well with. It's just a personal preference to me that I don't like it.
To me, it's I collect a lot of but I've had a lot of werewolf masks over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one that used to be around all the time, maybe 15, 20 years ago. And his mouth was always wide open. And just looking at it made my jaw hurt. So I completely get where you're going with that. You know, it's like, it would hurt to have your mouth open that wide and that long.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kathy, what you got?
What about burlap masks? Shane Helmstetter wants to know, has any of this crew worked with burlap with their masks?
I've worked on a handful. I have a burlap teddy bear mask on Etsy right now.
And Tony is holding up some burlap to the camera.
Here's some burlap right here.
Nice.
Yeah, I've okay, in my experiences with burlap, there's a lot of people that, you know, make just the burlap mask or whatever, and they put it on the head form. But what I've done is actually just glue the burlap to a latex mask that I already have, like a generic basic form that I want. And then I just glue the burlap to that. That way it's not itchy. and you don't have to work so hard to try to get the like details of like cheekbones, of the anatomy of the face, so to speak, or whatever. Like doing it without a bait. Yeah, there's one.
Was that one of yours, Tony? That
yeah.
picture?
Yes, that's my Leatherface of the Future 2.0.
That is a glorious, hideous burlap mask. I like it. That is a mess.
It is. It's just got all kinds of stuff going on.
Alan, go ahead.
I was going to say, I glue it all over a latex base, so that way you put it on, and the latex is what's against your skin, not the burlap.
Yeah.
So
Jeff.
Yeah, you were talking about favorite mask makers earlier, even though this is completely off topic. Relatively, one of the mask makers that I truly look up to in the industry is Grimstitch Factory. He uses a lot of goat skin and burlap, and his masks are excellent. They look really killer.
Well, he definitely has a niche, and he has his own design style.
Yeah, if I was to buy a mask to collect, it would more than likely be one of his.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's one of those artists that you're like, that dude is an artist. Like, he makes that stuff.
It just hit me when you said burlap, and I was like, oh, yeah. I do always look at his work.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how we're doing on time here. I don't know. I'm just talking about masks. I could talk about this all night. But so my question is, we have a couple people sculpting tonight. What is your process for making a mask? What is your process for sculpture?
How do you mean? Like from start to finish? Or
like what process do you go through?
Normally, I use oil-based clay, and I'll spin.
Way back. Get the concept in your head. You just
I have idea books. I have an entire folder of folders on the computer of reference images from things that inspired me at certain points in my life. And it could be as simple as seeing an animal in a National Geographic documentary, and then I write it down and I sketch something real simple that I might come back to later and want to sculpt. The inspiration can literally come from anywhere. I keep books upon books upon books of written ideas down.
And then once you decide, I am going to sculpt this, what's your process from there?
I will scour the internet for reference images. I have a mermaid shoot coming up this summer where I want to use the inspiration from a red grouper fish. So I have hundreds of pictures from adolescent to adult of that fish, just saved on the computer, different ideas from how I want the face to look, how I want the tail to blend into the body. And then we'll start live casting later in the spring and move to the shoot this summer after sculpt.
So I just had a thought that I'm going to share, which is weird because you said mermaid, red grouper fish. And my first thought was, well, a red grouper's not a very sexy fish.
The colors.
But then that means I do think that some fish are sexy. That's a problem for me.
You have a fish preference.
I guess I do. So, Tony, what's your sculpting process from concept to starting to sculpt and then through the sculpting process?
Well, I do have a lot of people that ask me that say, do you draw out your, concept first? Do you have a drawing? And like with me, no, I don't. Like I literally see it in my head done. And then I just do what I can do to get to that point. Like, once I see it in my head, I do a lot of reference photos too. Just as many different angles. The more angles, the better. But then I sculpt it, and then when I get the sculpt that I want, I mold it, and then I just sit for about 2 hours and think, please open. And that's the scariest part is the molding for me because it's either make or break. I've lost a lot of badass sculptures because I either rush the molding or just I get too anxious. And but then, that's just start to finish to me is just seeing it in my head and getting from point A to point B, to make it look like the way I see it in my head.
I don't remember every mask I've sculpted and molded. I just don't remember them all. But I remember every single mold I locked.
Yes.
David,
Yes, sir.
what about you? Can you talk us through your process a little bit from concept, I want to make this mask, to, I guess, to through finished product? What do you do?
I'll get online, try to find Google images, try to find stuff. Usually I'll like a mouth here, I like a pair of eyes from there. So I'll like mishmash a bunch of shit together, and then just go to town on it. And sometimes I'm a bipolar 2 guy, so I like to have manic episodes frequently. And I will knock a sculpt out in one sitting. Like I'll just sit here and hammer at it, and hammer at it, and hammer at it, and I'll plaster that shit that night before I go to bed. And the next day I'd be like, God damn it, I should have took another day off. Because the mold is just trashed. You get it, and you're just like, oh my God, the forehead's like this thin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like.
So Friday, David gets mad at Thursday, David, for what he did to your work.
I'm deleting videos on Facebook. My brother's calling me, saying I'm an idiot. It's crazy.
Curse you, Thursday, David.
Yeah. So a lot of you guys have talked about reference photos, and I talk about reference photos a lot. How is using reference photos not stealing someone else's work? What's the difference?
I don't use the whole picture. I use different pieces of it. I'll steal your nose, and if you want to sue me for stealing your nose, then let's go to court, I guess.
I try to copy everybody's shit. It never looks like theirs, so I'm good.
That's me. It's me.
Jeff?
I think a lot of that's going to depend on how direct the copy is. A lot, like David said, he'll see an eye from this picture, a nose from that one. Typically, I try to use photos of people that I've seen, especially when I'm trying to make a human sculpt. Or like right now, I'm using photos of actual goat skulls versus somebody else who has made a mask of a goat skull.
Yeah.
So if you're sculpting a goat skull, why is that human skull there?
To make sure that I have the anatomy of human skull right here with the eyes.
Because it's a mask
Because a
first
goat.
and a sculpture later.
There we go.
Nice.
So Tony, talk.
I do the same thing. I just take a little bit of pieces from here and there, but a lot of times, like being with custom commissions, like I do a lot of Slipknot stuff, which that is just, you have to be exact. I mean, you have to use reference photos to be exact like that. But if it's any kind of like copyright infringement or anything, I make sure first I don't want any kind of copyright infringement. There's too many masks to be made to mess with anything like that. But if it's just like something that's just, they say, oh yeah, I want a general idea of this, I may get a general idea of what this eye looks like, or what these teeth look like, or what that nose looks like, and just kind of, I like to put my own little spin on it, But if it's something that's so recognizable, somebody's like, hey, that's Pennywise, or so,
Yeah.
Right.
I try to, unless you got permission, I mean, that's fine, but that's mainly what I do.
I use a lot of reference photo, but I use it, and to me, the whole purpose of it is my brain is not good at holding crisp detail.
No.
So if I can't, you say that like a mask, Tony, pops into your head all at once, like fully formed, you're not supposed to look.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking about how the nose looks, everything else goes fuzzy. So I really need reference photos to, just like David was saying, these eyebrows, that's what I want. And it helps my brain lock in that detail and focus on that character a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're coming right to the end. Woo-hoo!
Thank God.
We definitely want to thank Alan Hobbs for coming in. I don't know. What do you guys think? You think he did better than Phil Ricosa? I don't know. You better put it in the comments.
I'm not touching that one.
Let's see how he reads off the names for the prizes.
That's not my job. That's Jamie's job.
Yeah.
Phil
All right,
is horrible.
So-
Phil's
Prize
like,
it to win.
Phil's like,
So we're moving over
Todd.
to Jamie for the prizes.
Phil's the man. I'm a cheap substitute.
Phil's
So
a delicious
modest.
person. He really is.
Okay, well, again, if I butcher your name, I'm so sorry. So first off, we have for the mask from Face Factory FX, we have Rebecca Egger. The Fright Props Rust Desk goes to Michael Laster.
Michael Lasher.
There you go.
I know that guy.
Good. Thank you for fixing the name. Sinful Audios. The winner is Ann Kaywood.
Right.
The winner for the ornaments, NOLA Crypt ornament goes to Brian Van Camp.
Right, Brian.
I want to congratulate you on your pronunciation of horror ornaments because that's
Horror
That's a hard
ornament.
one.
Tuffy.
Okay, let's see. The 1 gallon of fog from Froggy's Fog goes to Miller Posca.
Oh, Miller.
The 6 badges from Scarab Badges goes to Chelsea Mohan.
Chelsea.
And just a reminder, everybody watching tonight gets 50% off of Sam Haines if you use the code Haunters.
Woo.
The realistic skull from Nightmare Makers goes to Steve Spagnola.
Spagnola.
The $25 gift certificate from XFX Makeup goes to Sean Boswell.
Hooray.
The pair of exotic lenses goes to Just Bill. The mask from Missing Finger Productions goes to Jeff Foster. The 4 coasters and $10 off from Hot Labs goes to Paul Smith. And the $25 gift card from Hotwire Foam Factory goes to Chris Stone.
Right.
So if I called your name, make sure you message what's your name?
Diablo.
Are we giving away hats too?
Let me help you.
Message
We should give our
Diablo
hats away.
before tomorrow evening. That guy, whatever his name is.
That's awesome. You did so good too, and then right at the end, you're like,
I got confused. Which name? Screen name, real name. Ah.
Uh-huh. All right.
Well,
Anyways,
thank
we
you guys.
want to.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we want to thank Alan, Kathy. We want to thank David Ace for coming on. We want to thank Jeff Fields from Face Factory FX, our sponsor and Haunters Hangout. We can't appreciate it more. We want to thank Amy, Tony Buck. Thanks for coming in at a pinch. And we are out of here.